Welcome to the deep dive. There's just something about plunging into the unknown, isn't there? Whether that's like diving into the crushing depths of an alien ocean in a game like Subnautica, or like we're doing today, diving into this complex mess of corporate drama and fan reaction that's been boiling over, especially on Reddit. Subnautica is more than just a game, really. It's this amazing mix of survival, exploration, and this deep sense of mystery. It just grabs you. So today our mission, our deep dive, is all about untangling this really complicated story surrounding Subnautica 2. It's been unfolding everywhere, but Reddit's been a real hotspot. We're going to try and pull out the key pieces from all the accusations, the reports, the fan reactions, all of it. So by the end, you'll have a kind of shortcut to understanding what's really going on beneath the surface with this game everyone's waiting for.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, beyond just the specifics, is seeing how fast a community can, mobilize based on just those initial reports.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got this kind of situation. It's a business dispute, plain and simple, but it's layered right on top of a fan base that's just so passionate. It's basically perfect conditions for misinformation to spread, which is why, taking a clear look at the facts, or at least the facts as presented by all the sides involved, is so important.
Okay, so let's start with the basics, the stuff that really sent the first shockwaves out. Unknown Worlds, the developer we all know for Subnautica, they were actually acquired by Krafton back in 2021.
Right, that was the initial setup.
Yeah, that was big news then, but the real drama, the stuff we're talking about today, that kicked off much more recently. It was July 2nd, 2025. Krafton suddenly announced this huge shakeup, just bam. They replaced 3 key people at Unknown Worlds. We're talking co-founders Charlie Cleveland, the creative director, and Max McGuire, the technical director, plus CEO Ted Gill. I mean, these are the guys who basically made Subnautica what it is.
That's the core team, essentially.
Exactly. And who did they bring in? Steve Papoutsis. Now, people might know that name.
Yeah, he was the former CEO of Striking Distance Studios. They did the Callisto Protocol.
Right, so big changes at the top.
And crucially, think about the timing and the immediate fallout. Right after these leadership changes were announced, Krafton also announced that Subnautica 2's early access release, which everyone expected sometime in 2025. Well, that was getting pushed back to 2026.
Okay.
So you can imagine, for the fans, the question becomes why? Why these huge changes and this delay all at once? It immediately started people talking, speculating.
And here's where it gets, really interesting, as you said, because according to quite a few reports, the timing of this delay lined up almost perfectly with a massive financial incentive.
That's exactly where the speculation really took off. Yeah. You have to understand the financial background here. It's kind of the bedrock of this whole argument. See, that 2021 acquisition deal, it apparently included what's called an earn-out clause.
Yeah.
Performance-based. And this bonus was reportedly worth up to, get this, $250 million.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But there was a condition. Unknown Worlds had to hit certain revenue targets by the end of 2025. And a really big part of that, allegedly, was getting Subnautica 2 into early access within that 2025 window.
So the delay basically knocks that out.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
So the core accusation that you saw flying around, especially all over Reddit, was that Krafton might have delayed the game into 2026 specifically to avoid having to pay out that huge bonus because, the new timeline would disqualify it based on the original terms.
Okay, but then Charlie Cleveland, one of the founders who was pushed out, he came back pretty strong, right? July 4th, he put out a statement. He said Subnautica 2 was, and I'm quoting here, ready for early access, said he was shocked by what Krafton did. He also made a point of saying he'd never willingly abandoned the game, called it his life's work, and interestingly, clarified that the plan was always to share any bonus money with the whole team, not just keep it for the execs.
Right, so a very different narrative there.
Yeah.
But Krafton, predictably, denied it all.
Yeah.
They said the delay had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with contractual or financial considerations. Their official line was it was purely about needing more time to improve the game following feedback. And then they added their own counterclaim. This hasn't been independently verified, mind you, but Krafton claimed that 90% of that $250 million bonus would have actually gone directly to just Cleveland, McGuire, and Gill. And even more directly contradicting Cleveland, Krafton alleged that those 3 were the ones actually pushing for more development time and didn't want to ship an unfinished game.
So completely opposite stories. Okay, let's dig into that a bit more. Krafton also accused the ousted leaders of, abandoning their responsibilities and focusing on other things. They specifically mention Charlie Cleveland working on some kind of personal film project, using AI for movies or something.
Yeah, they brought that up. The implication clearly was that these side projects were distractions, pulling focus and resources away from Subnautica 2. And to back this up, Krafton actually confirmed that a leaked internal document from back in May 2025 was authentic. Now, this document reportedly painted a pretty bleak picture. It suggested Subnautica 2's development was severely behind schedule, like only 1 out of 6 planned regions was done, core gameplay stuff was unfinished or entirely missing. It also apparently mentioned the game had repeatedly missed key development milestones. So for Krafton, this leak supported their argument that the delay was about performance, not money.
Okay, but how did the fans, especially on Reddit, react to that? Because that sounds pretty bad development-wise.
Well, there was a lot of skepticism, actually. Many Redditors immediately pointed out, look, early access games often launch with minimal content. The original Subnautica itself was a prime example. It was in early access for, what, over 3 years?
Yeah, that's true. It grew massively over time.
Exactly. So people started asking if things were really that bad back in May or even earlier, why would Krafton wait until literally right before this massive potential payout was due to suddenly fire the leadership and delay the game? The timing still felt suspicious to a lot of people. You know, the whole, if it was so bad, why wait kind of argument.
Right. It raises questions.
And then, adding another layer, Charlie Cleveland confirmed they've actually filed a lawsuit against Krafton.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's gone legal.
Yep. He said publicly this needs to be made right.
Yeah.
And promised that the details would come out eventually through the legal process. So connecting this to the bigger picture, we're now looking at a really high-stakes legal fight, and hopefully, maybe, that process will bring some actual facts and clarity to light, beyond just the public statements and accusations.
Okay, so with all this swirling around the firing, the delay, the money, the lawsuit, how did the actual Subnautica player community, the fans, on Reddit especially, take all this?
Oh, the reaction was immediate and pretty fierce. On places like the Subnautica and RPT gaming subreddits, you saw thousands of fans just erupt. Calls for a global boycott of Subnautica 2 started almost instantly.
A boycott? What did that entail? Like, what were they asking people to do?
Well, the main things were, take the game off your Steam wishlist. And remember, it was apparently the second most wishlisted game on Steam at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, don't pre-order it, and pledge not to buy it when it eventually launches. The hashtag boycott Subnautica 2 started getting pushed pretty hard within those communities. Lots of comments like, they're destroying our game for profit, that kind of sentiment.
That sounds pretty organized, at least within those forums.
It was definitely loud within those specific Reddit communities, generating thousands of upvotes and comments. But it's worth noting, the hashtag itself didn't seem to gain massive traction on, say, X or other broader social media platforms. So the boycott's reach might have been more concentrated among the really dedicated fans.
Okay. And was there anything else? Like other reactions?
Yeah, there was also this whole controversy around review bombing. Some fans, clearly very angry, started leaving negative reviews for the original Subnautica and Subnautica. Below 0 on Steam.
Wait, for the old games? But Krafton wasn't involved back then, were they?
Exactly, that's the point. Those games were developed and self-published by Unknown Worlds before Krafton bought them. So this tactic sparked a whole new debate within the community itself.
I can imagine. What was the pushback like?
Oh, it was strong. A lot of other fans argued really passionately against it. They said, look, this just hurts the reputation of games we all love. It's childish, it's disingenuous. And crucially, it ends up hurting the developers who are still working at Unknown Worlds, the people actually making the game, much more than it hurts Krafton's bottom line. The feeling was that review bombing makes reviews about corporate politics instead of the actual quality of the game, which is just misleading for anyone new coming along. It really showed that internal struggle, right? How do you protest without damaging the thing you love?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Was there any attempt to manage all this discussion on Reddit? It sounds like it must have been overwhelming.
There was talk, yeah. Someone proposed creating a mega thread to try and contain all the drama posts because it was kind of flooding the subreddits. But even that had mixed reactions. Some people liked the idea of keeping it organized, but others worried it would just bury the discussion or make it impossible for the moderators to keep up.
Makes sense. Did Unknown Worlds, the studio itself, say anything amidst all this?
They did, eventually. In response to all the fan anxiety and the backlash, the studio put out a letter. They tried to reassure everyone, promising that Subnautica 2 will remain a single-player first experience, with co-op being optional. And they specifically said, no subscriptions, no loot boxes, no battle pass, no microtransactions.
Hitting all the big fan concerns about potential changes under Krafton.
Exactly. It was clearly an attempt to calm fears that the core Subnautica experience was going to be fundamentally changed or overly monetized. But the big question is, will that be enough? Given everything else that's flying around, the accusations, the lawsuit, how much will that statement actually soothe the fans caught in this crossfire?
Yeah, that's the real question. So let's try and pull this together. For you, the player, listening to all this, trying to figure it out, what does it all mean? It sounds incredibly messy.
It is messy. And honestly, it's really hard to definitively take a side right now. You've got Krafton, who had this potential $250 million payout hanging over them, but who also presented evidence or alleged evidence of serious development problems. Then you've got the former leaders who stood to gain financially, yes, but who passionately argue the game was ready and that they were unfairly ousted. Both sides have potential motivations, and their stories just don't line up.
It feels a bit like other situations we've seen in gaming, doesn't it? Like maybe Kerbal Space Program 2 or the Disco Elysium situation, where you have these publisher-developer relationship breakdowns causing massive fan distrust.
There are definitely parallels, yeah. With Kerbal 2, you had delays and developer changes that made fans worry about the game's direction. Similar concerns here. And Disco Elysium, the whole drama around the key creators being forced out, absolutely sparked a huge backlash about the future and integrity of that IP. But the Subnautica situation has its own unique flavor, particularly with that huge, specific earn-out clause being so central to the narrative, plus the very public back-and-forth accusations, and now this lawsuit.
Right. That lawsuit seems key.
It really does. Ultimately, that legal process should force more details out into the open. Things like contractual obligations, maybe internal communications. We might eventually get a clearer picture of what actually happened behind closed doors. It could even set some interesting precedents for these kinds of deals in the future.
So for you listening, what are the practical takeaways? What should you do?
Well, the choice is yours, really. You could join the boycott if you feel strongly about the situation. You could decide to just wait and see how things shake out, see what the game looks like if and when it eventually releases. Some people suggested playing it via Game Pass, if it ends up there, as a way to experience it without directly purchasing it from Krafton. But I think the bigger takeaway is how this whole thing really shines a light on that often tense relationship between publishers, developers, and us, the players. It shows how complex corporate decisions can deeply affect the games we're excited about. And it definitely shows how powerful and vocal player communities, especially on platforms like Reddit, have become in shaping the narrative around these events.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we have it, a really beloved game franchise, Subnautica, caught right in the middle of a pretty nasty high-stakes business fight. It's definitely a reminder that even when you're exploring those beautiful, serene alien oceans, the corporate waters above can get surprisingly choppy. A lot of drama stirring things up.
Indeed. And maybe as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. In this industry, where you so often see creative vision bumping up against corporate bottom lines and targets, what role do you, as a passionate player, actually play? Do you choose to vote with your wallet, as they say? Do you try to support the developers still working on the game, maybe by waiting patiently? Or do you just hold off entirely until you see if the game can actually surface and live up to that incredible Subnautica legacy? It's something to consider.
A lot to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and yeah, keep being well informed.